The sky over Tel Aviv turned into a battlefield. Sirens wailed, explosions rocked the streets, and the world held its breath. On June 16, 2025, Iran unleashed its most aggressive strike against Israel in modern history. A wave of missiles and drones that shattered the silence of the night, Israel struck back with devastating precision, hitting deep into Iran's heart. Civilians died, oil markets panicked, and now the threat of nuclear escalation looms larger than ever. But what really happened? Who struck first? Why now? And what does this mean for the future of the Middle East and the world? This is the full story of the day. The region changed forever. The night that shook the Middle East. It was just after midnight on June 16, 2025. Israelis were asleep. Tel Aviv's coastal skyline glowed under the peaceful night lights. But peace didn't last long. Suddenly, air raid sirens, dozens of them across Tel Aviv, Haifa, and central Israel. People ran for cover. In less than 5 minutes, a wave of over 100 ballistic missiles and kamikaze drones thundered into Israeli airspace. These weren't just any attacks. They were Iran's most coordinated long-range strikes in modern warfare. Precision-guided, radar-dodging. Some even had multi-stage delivery systems. And the intent, maximum disruption militarily and psychologically. This was not retaliation. This was a message. A message written in smoke, fire, and debris. One missile struck just 400 meters from the U.S. consulate in Tel Aviv. Windows shattered. Emergency systems kicked in. Another hit a highway in Haifa, torching civilian vehicles, flipping a fuel truck, and killing at least 8 people on the spot. Iran claims this operation, codenamed Zulfiqar's Retribution, was in direct response to Israeli airstrikes that targeted high-ranking IRGC officials and a nuclear facility in Isfahan 3 days prior. The Israeli Iron Dome and David's sling systems were overwhelmed. While many missiles were intercepted, at least dozens slipped through. Casualties mounted. Hospitals activated mass casualty protocols. Social media lit up with videos of falling fireballs, terrified screams, and streets torn apart. Across the world, stock markets shook. Crude oil spiked by 5%. Airports across the Middle East shut down airspace. Even Turkey, Lebanon, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia closed their skies temporarily, fearing they'd be next. But Israel didn't wait. Within hours, the Israeli Air Force launched Operation Rising Lion. Phase 2, dozens of F-35s and F-15I Ramjets crossed into Iranian airspace. Their targets, not just military command posts, but nuclear infrastructure, missile silos, fuel depots, and IRGC bases. Strikes hit Tehran's western outskirts. Video footage from citizens in Karaj Isfahan and Mashhad shows massive explosions lighting up the night sky. Iranian state media tried to downplay the damage, but satellite imagery told a different story. This wasn't just tit for tat, this was war in full swing. What makes this escalation so dangerous, says Dr. Emily Cohen, a defense analyst at Georgetown University, is that both sides are no longer avoiding civilian zones. This marks a psychological shift, a transition from shadow war to total confrontation. By morning, Iran's health ministry confirmed 224 deaths, including children, over 1,200 injured. Hospitals flooded. Power outages followed in multiple cities as Israeli cyber units targeted Iran's electric grid alongside airstrikes. And then came the bombshell. Iran's parliament announced a vote to exit the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, signaling that it might resume building nuclear weapons, openly and rapidly. The red lines. They were no longer lines. They were already crossed. Nuclear tensions, global panic, and the next move. June 16th was indeed just a turning point. It was a warning flare across the world's geopolitical sky, and the message was clear. The Iran-Israel confrontation had entered a point of no return. Just hours after the Israeli airstrikes shook Tehran, Iran's parliament passed an emergency resolution, greenlighting withdrawal from the 1968 Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. That treaty was the last diplomatic bridge between Iran and the international community. And now, with that bridge burned, the world stared into a nuclear abyss. Iran's nuclear program had slowed after the 2015 JCPOA agreement, but with that deal long dead. Iran's say enriched uranium stockpile has reached levels over 18 times the limit set by the original deal. Now, Tehran's message to the world was clear. If you attack our sovereignty, we will reclaim our nuclear deterrent. And Israel's response, unyielding. Prime Minister Yonatan Melka addressed the nation in a defiant midnight speech. We did not seek war, but we will not stand idle as our citizens are slaughtered and our skies are invaded. The world must choose, appease terror or support freedom. In a simultaneous move, the Israeli Air Force expanded its list of targets, striking not only military zones but also Iran's oil infrastructure in Khuzestan, Bushehr, and Bandar Abbas. By mid-afternoon, smoke plumes could be seen from space, rising from burning oil refineries and storage depots. Iran's energy ministry declared a state of emergency, shutting down several power plants and rationing electricity in major cities. Global response. United in fear, divided in action, the UN Security Council convened in an emergency session. Russia and China blamed Israel for crossing red lines. The US, UK, and France defended Israel's right to respond, but urged restraint. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump Jr., in a rare nationally televised statement, said, "We stand with Israel, our closest ally, but we urge both parties to exercise restraint. We are working with partners to de-escalate this dangerous conflict." Yet the world wasn't waiting. G7 countries evacuated their embassies in Tehran. Oil tankers were redirected away from the Strait of Hormuz. Stock markets reeled, the human cost, real people, real pain. In a hospital in Qom, a father wept over the burned body of his 7-year-old son, caught in a drone strike while walking to school. In Tel Aviv, a woman live-streamed from a bomb shelter as her building shook above her. War isn't just about geopolitics, it's about people. And in this war, civilians are now on the front lines. Cyber warfare. The invisible battlefield. As missiles flew overhead, invisible attacks began underground. Israel's Unit 8200 launched a sophisticated cyber assault on Iran's digital grid, causing temporary blackouts in Isfahan, Shiraz, and Tabriz. In retaliation, Iranian hackers disabled Israel's water treatment plants and disrupted government servers, including traffic lights in Jerusalem. This wasn't just kinetic war. This was fifth-generation warfare. Drones, cyber, satellites, and psychological operations. WHATs next. As of June 16, 2025, over 400 people are dead, including children, civilians, and soldiers. Iran is on the brink of nuclear declaration. Israel's military is in full wartime footing, and the world is holding its breath. The Middle East is changing forever, and the choices made in the next 72 hours will determine whether this ends in dialogue or disaster. While Israel and Iran clash directly, the real danger may lie in the proxy battlefield now igniting across the region. Hezbollah launched over 70 rockets from southern Lebanon into northern Israel. Several Israeli towns are now under round-the-clock aerial threat. In Iraq, Iran-backed militias attacked U.S. military installations near Erbil and Baghdad. In Yemen, the Houthis declared support for Iran and fired drones toward Eilat, a port city in southern Israel. This web of proxy forces, fueled by ideology, money, and revenge, is turning a two-country war into a regional wildfire. The Middle East is now a chessboard of shadows, and every move risks a global checkmate. Secret alliances exposed behind the scenes, old enemies and hidden friends are shifting. Saudi Arabia, long a silent critic of Israel, is now quietly coordinating with U.S. forces to contain Iran's reach. Not out of love for Israel, but out of fear of Tehran. Turkey is walking a dangerous tightrope, condemning Israeli strikes publicly while keeping backdoor intelligence channels open. Russia and China are aligning with Iran diplomatically, calling Israeli strikes illegal, while using the chaos to distract from their own agendas. In war, alliances are currency, and trust is always temporary. With the region teetering on the edge, the world watches for one thing: nuclear red lines. If Iran restarts full nuclear enrichment, if Israel strikes Iran's buried nuclear sites, if another civilian massacre happens, then this war could go from regional to world-shaking. As of June 16th, diplomacy is failing, missiles are flying, and history is being rewritten in real time. This is no longer about politics, it's about survival. And the next 48 hours could change everything. If you found this breakdown valuable, support independent, global-focused content. Subscribe to Decoding History and Science, comment your thoughts, and share this video to spread awareness. The truth is more vital than ever. Stay informed, stay alert.